Welcome back to Crackerjack Movie Chat. I am, as always, your host, Peter J. McCluskey, joined by today in the Jeff Goldblum position, it's Mr. Robert Tombe.
Hello, yes. I will apologise for looking unprofessional by lying. I'm just not feeling great. But I will focus on this. Like Jeff Goldblum, maybe I could even give you this.
Ooh, that's put the viewership through the roof there,
Oh,
Robert.
it is. Will be hairyman.com. That's a website.
Sure it is. Sure it is. We've all seen Superbad, right? We know
Oh, watched
how
that this morning.
yeah, we all know how it breaks down if you go too far.
Yep, it just falls apart.
So yeah, we are well aware that we've technically missed April Fool's Day because none of us were paying attention really to the fact that it was coming around. But we thought that just being in the month of April was a good excuse to just talk about our favorite comedies. And so I feel like this is it's quite an we've been talking about our choices just over chat recently, Robert, and I feel like it's going to be quite an interesting breakdown, quite diverse.
Yep. Yeah, I think without spoiling it does seem to be very different eras. It's no recent. It's very. I think you may have the oldest one.
Yeah, I'm going back
Good.
to the 30s with one of mine.
Yeah,
So
you've
yeah.
went country mile.
So yeah, we'll just jump into this. And because it is just me and Robert here today, we're each going to go through four instead of three. And we're not doing the best, worst, and wild cards as we usually do, because when we're covering a genre this broad, it just makes sense because we have so many films we could talk about to just say what are our favorite comedies today. So four each from us. And for me, as Robert says, I'm going to go back to the 30s for my first pick with Duck Soup, which is a Marx Brothers film. And for me, I'm a huge fan of the Marx Brothers, grew up with them. And yeah, like weirdly, there's like sort of like subtle links to Chaplin with the Marx Brothers, but I've never really watched any Chaplin films, strangely enough. I was always that guy who watched Marx Brothers films whenever they were on as a kid. And basically, Duck Soup, it's always a kind of fight over the years between Duck Soup and A Night at the Opera for which is my favourite. But Duck Soup currently holds that title, so that's the one I'm going to discuss. And basically, it follows the traditional Marx Brothers formula where you have Groucho in his position of being the guy who's part of civilized society but is frowned upon by civilized society. And in this case, he is the leader of the great country of Fredonia. And of course, you have Chico and Harpo, who always seem to serve as these two characters who are there to undermine slash help Groucho. And in this case, Chico and Harpo are playing spies from the neighboring country of Sylvania, I believe it's called. So basically, they just follow that traditional formula. But this one, hey, it's really kind of a political satire with Groucho being this character who's really not fit to be in charge of an entire country, and basically throughout the entire film is in the position where he's the country of Fredonia is almost at war with Sylvania, and you have the character Trentino, who's basically the straight character to the Marx Brothers antics, where he is presented as this kind of like what a politician should be, but he's actually trying to undermine Fredonia the entire time. So Groucho, knowing this, is basically always teetering on the line of insulting the guy and saying, well, we know he's trying to undermine us. Let's just insult him to the point that he does declare war on us so that we can get past this pretense. And yeah, it's just a wild ride, this film. It's insane, like, because you have all these elaborate sequences where Chico and Harpo are breaking into Groucho's mansion to try and steal the war plans, and basically they're both, because of course the Marx Brothers all look similar, they're both dressed up as Groucho and chasing each other around the house, which leads to this very famous mirror sequence where a mirror's been smashed. But Harpo's on the other side of where the smash mirror would have been, dressed as Groucho. So him and Groucho are mirroring each other, and yeah, it's classic sequence that. So yeah, Marx Brothers films, they all basically just exist on the energy of the three brothers and the personalities they cultivate. And of course, Zeppo Marx, who's kind of the straight man, was still involved with them at this time. So he basically plays the straight man sidekick to Groucho. But he's got a few, like, he's not relegated to the straight man totally that you'd think. Like, he's definitely like one of the three, they're with the three, and gets a few kind of more stone-faced jabs in, so that you still definitely feel like he's the fourth lead in the film. And yeah, basically it all just ends in this massive battlefield sequence where you get this big song and dance number about, oh, Fredonia is going to war, and it just ends in this crazy slapstick sequence, which, yeah, as you say, I only know bits of Chaplin, but I will go out on a limb and say Chaplin would be proud of. This is top of the heap for Marx Brothers films for me. So, Robert, what's your opinion on this? Have you ever seen it at all, or?
No, I haven't seen the film. I've heard of it, funnily enough. So when you said you were suggesting it, I was like, oh, I've heard of that. It's hard with the Marx Brothers because I'm on my head going, I'm certainly have seen the work, but I can't remember it. Or even I'm with you in the Charlie Chaplin. I haven't seen a Charlie Chaplin comedy. But one thing I do know about the Marx Brothers, I feel like they have inspired or a lot of action in comedy now. Like, as you say, the whole mirror resembling thing. I mean, I'm not sure whether they were the first. I'm not sure of the history, but I know there's so many people that do that now. And I weirdly feel like I have seen that scene as well. But no, yeah, I think in terms of, I mean, I've never seen it, but I know in terms of comedies, it is a classic for the Marx Brothers because they are classics.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point that I feel like a lot of people who have seen Marx Brothers films, maybe on the TV but aren't actually deep fans of the Marx Brothers, because you have that formula I'm talking about where, you have Groucho as the guy who's frowned upon by society, and then Chico and Harpo are always forcing themselves into his situation. Because all the films kind of go with that formula, it's probably hard for people to think, okay, well, which one was the political war film and which one was the film on the boat? I feel like, it's like we said with Bond recently, like, if you like one Marx Brothers film, you'll probably like all of them. But Duck Soup for me, it's the one with like the most, and Night of the Opera, those are the two where you have the most classic set pieces and just everything's really tight and well thought out for me. So yeah, Duck Soup, brilliant film, really great film. Yeah. So Robert, what's your first choice for your favorite comedies?
Well, I'm going to start with my oldest film as well. I'm certain this is the oldest film by far. On my choices, I'm going to go with the 1977 film Slapshot. Now, I know these did have sequels. I'm certain they did have sequels, but they were way, I think they were like 2002, and then there was a third one in 2010. But I mean, it's one of those, they've left it far too long, 77, but yet here, let's bring a sequel out. My lifetime, anyway, if you want to say that way. So yeah, basically, it's a sport comedy. Hockey's a weird one for me, so it's based on hockey. I'm weirdly like, I don't know the rules of hockey, but I'm a fan of hockey through the violence. So this was a hard choice because for me it was either Slapshot or it was The Goon. I do think Slapshot is the superior comedy, mainly for the fact it's got Paul Newman in it. Like, Paul Newman's a star, and me and my dad were weirdly talking about Paul Newman and Robert Redford and Steve McQueen, like, where would they rank, and how would you compare them to like modern day actors? And I always just assumed that Steve McQueen was the biggest, but no, my dad's like, oh no, Paul Newman was, serious. Like, I mean, I know for a fact that Paul Newman to be in a comedy like this, it seems to me pretty madness. So basically, it's the New England town of Charlestown, which I think it was at the time going through pretty financial issues. There's a local mill. I think there was thousands upon thousands of workers that had to lay off, and it was basically just it was all about just depression. Basically, like Charlestown was rubbish. Like the area portrayed in the film, I've never been, so I'm not going to sit here and belittle Charlestown. I've never been, but it's basically the way the film portrays it is the towns get no money. The biggest thing that employs people is going out of business. And so you'd think, oh, maybe the hockey team brings us joy. The hockey team is dreadful. The hockey team is so bad. And basically, Paul Newman is, I think, if I remember rightly, Paul Newman was a decent hockey player. Like his character, his character was Reggie Dunlop, who was the player and coach. I can't remember if Reggie Dunlop was considered a great hockey player when he was younger, and this is his career dwindling out. I think that may have been how the film goes, and he's now dwindled out in some rubbish team that plays in Charlestown. The fans aren't there for them anymore. They're rubbish. They've been told that this season's their last season, and the owners try to save money here and there. They managed to get some new recruits in called the Hanson brothers. I can't say the word that get used in the film because it is deemed offensive, so I will not say it. But let's just say Paul Newman compares them to not so intelligent people that may have, let's just say that he's compared them in a very not nice way to people that may have a disability that affects their thinking. I've said that, I've been PC, so I've tried my best. Because Paul Newman's, now these guys I'm sure would be mid-20s or that perception in the film. They're all staying in the one room. There's three of them, and they're playing with toy cars, and they're arguing about toy cars and who gets to play with the car. So Paul Newman's first, vision of them isn't it great? This is his last season, and this is what he's got to work with. Grown men playing with toy cars. Now, don't get me wrong, I always want to play with my toy cars, but there's time and a place. But what he finds out is that they're decent. They're okay hockey players. They're not great hockey players, but they're violent. They are so violent, and they look so stupid as well. Like I don't think all three of them got glasses, but they've got like the classic black rimmed, thick glasses, and they're violent. Like I think as soon as the game starts in their first game at hockey, they just pick fights. They are violent and thuggish is the word. And I think this is where semi-pro kind of got its idea from, because if you remember the Will Ferrell semi-pro is your club's going out of business. Obviously, basketball can't be violent, but they look for sideshows. Slapshot then uses the Hanson brothers as a sideshow to bring in the fans, and they start getting all sorts of support. And I think it's a weird attempt by Paul Newman to get the club bought or to get the franchise bought, however it works in America. And they repaint them as the most violent hockey team in the league, and they're basically just every game's just an absolute mess. They are just fighting. It's simple humour. I imagine if you are a hockey fan, it's great. I mean, I'm not. I don't know the rules of hockey, but I love it just because of the violence. It's brilliant. They have there is some nice story elements to it as well. I think there's players trying to get their loved ones back and stuff like that, and show that they are good hockey players. But no, it's the Hanson brothers. I mean, honestly, it's the classic trio. I think most comedies, if they have a trio, that seems to make it better. And the fact that Paul Newman goes from being the very straight guy, I don't want anything to do with this, and then he weirdly descends into madness. He weirdly descends into this, yes, let's get thuggish, let's get violent. And he weirdly buys into it. So you could say he becomes like the fourth Hanson brother. He's into it, and it's all about getting crowds. It's a madness comedy. It's a brilliant comedy. And it's a shame that in my head I've not seen it in a while and I only remember basics. But I would honestly suggest, even if you're not a fan of hockey, because I'm not, I suggest you try and get this. It's 1977 Slapshot. Ignore Slapshot 2 and 3. Just ignore them. Chop them. We tell you usually to chop certain parts of franchises. You only have to concern yourself with the first one. Brilliant. great. Paul Newman is actually hilarious in it as well. And I'm not too clued up in Paul Newman's career, like film for film. I just know he was a great actor. I don't know how many comedies he's been in, but this one he was perfect in. It's just the fact that he slowly descends into the madness of it all, despite trying to stay a coach. He becomes the madness. He feels it almost. You know, the best one is their minivan or the bus that takes them ends up. They shred the bus to make it look like something out of a horror film. You know, fake blood from it. The windows are all smashed. That's just madness. It's brilliant. They use violence to such a funny extent. I think that is the way you can do it with hockey, because you know, hockey is probably most time when it's on, I've seen it. It does look decent, but it's the violence you're into. To be honest, I don't know, Peter, if you've ever seen it or heard.
No, I've not seen it. I feel like I only really know about it because I'm pretty sure Michael Ontkean is in it, who's Harry from Twin Peaks. I'm pretty sure that was
Yes,
Yeah.
you're correct.
yeah, that was his notable film before Twin Peaks, which
Mm-hmm.
might check it out because I like seeing Twin Peaks actors and other things. And
Yeah.
I feel like he kind of disappeared after that show, to be honest. Maybe got
In fact,
typecast, but yeah.
yeah, you've reminded me he was in it. He's actually brilliant in it as well, because he kind of seems to swap roles with Paul Newman. So he just wants to play hockey, and he's sick of the sideshow. But there is a scene near the end where he buys into it, but he doesn't buy into the violence. He weirdly just starts taking his clothes off during a hockey game. It is madness. It's a fantastic film. I for sports comedies, it's possibly up there with one of the best in terms of sports comedies.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out because, as you say, don't think of Newman doing a lot of comedies, but I feel like, well, you do think of him as this more serious actor. I feel like there's always a twinkle in his eye that has me thinking that he could possibly pull that off. Yeah. So, yeah, I need to check that out. So, yeah, my second choice is one of my favourite films, obviously. It's Dr. Strangelove, which I'm a big Stanley Kubrick fan anyway, and I feel like I always look at Kubrick in two phases. Like, you have the like everything up to Doctor Strangelove, which is like great films, like, but then you have everything from 2001 onwards, which are Kubrick films. You know, it's like he was making like great films anyway, but then like anything from this point on just has this defined style that you can't get anywhere else. But even though I'd put Strangelove at the end of the original run, I feel like this is the first one that no one else could have made but Kubrick, basically. So basically, we all know the plot of Doctor Strangelove. It's of course set in and made during the Cold War, where one rogue general who feels like politicians can't be left to make the big decisions basically hijacks America's nuclear arsenal and initiates nuclear war, essentially. And from that point forward, it all escalates into trying to take this guy down, and all these debates in the war room between the American politicians and the Russian ambassador. And of course, at the center of this, we have Peter Sellers, who's playing three different characters. Of course, plays the British attaché to this rogue general. He plays the president, and he also plays Dr. Strangelove. And yeah, I mean, we all know Sellers is just a comedy legend, but this is like, you say his name, this is always what I'm going to go back to. It's three characters that are like, they're all comedic, but they're definitely characters at the same time. I feel like this is like how I think of the film as well. Like, I'd be interested to go back and watch this with an audience back in 1964, where I don't know if people would have known immediately that it was a comedy, because of course the book it was based on was just a straight Cold War story. So when you're watching Doctor Strangelove, you have this kind of like 30-minute period at the start where they're treating it fairly seriously, and there's like odd little like comedic lines, but it's more this grim drama. And then as like it unfolds more and more, you suddenly realize, wait, this is completely ludicrous, and it just gets more and more over the top, and it like that kind of thing can go completely wrong, but I feel like it's like done perfectly in this film. Like you just kind of like buy into this idea of like, okay, yeah, this is totally how politics would disintegrate in this kind of situation. And yeah, just brilliant performances. George C. Scott as well, who is just like the kind of wacky other general who's there in the war room with the president and kind of sympathizes with the rogue general by just going like, now that he's done this, let's just let those commies have what's coming to them. And yeah, but then like as I'm saying, like it like keeps flip flopping back into drama. Like when the president tells him, "No, we're not going to do that," like his face immediately falls, and you go back into this, Mr. President. We can't like treat this as on a whim. We need to like be serious about this. Like, and yeah, I feel like we all know. Like, I don't know. Do people know this story? Actually, most people were like story about George C. Scott, which this has got to be one of the early Kubrick is a bastard stories, because you hear the stories about George C. Scott thought that this was a serious drama, and Kubrick was telling him all the way through, yeah, good, you're doing great, but before you do your proper takes, just do the biggest, most over the top takes you possibly can, just to get all your energy out there. And Kubrick, of course, used those takes instead of the serious takes, which just speaks a lot to Kubrick to me. But yeah, this is a fantastic film to me. It's just puts you in a time and place perfectly, but is also just one of the funniest films ever made. So, Robert, have you seen this?
Do you know the worst? I have actually seen this film. Not seen it a lot, but there's always one scene that sticks with me, and I don't know. I feel like it sticks with everybody that has seen it, and it's Peter Sellers. I feel it was given it was Peter Sellers, wasn't it? I say
Yeah.
this all the time. Yeah, I know it's him, but I always question it. I don't know why I question it. You just said it. You just need to make sure he was playing this character. I feel like he was playing so many characters that it's hard to tell what one was him.
It's even to the point that the first time I watched the film, I knew he was playing three characters, but I only found two of them, and I'm like, wait, where's the third character? It's like, oh, he's the president as well. Okay, yeah.
But the one scene that always weirdly sticks with me, and I just think Peter Sellers gets so much freedom, and it feels like he was allowed to do what he wants, because you can tell a lot of it was improv, because you don't have to look at the background and at this scene, and you can see a lot of actors kind of struggling, and very serious actors, because as you say, the film was perceived as a drama, so you get very serious actors, and they're struggling to hold in, and it's the scene where he appears as the German doctor,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
German scientist, and it's the hand that was like a Nazi's hand. Oh, that scene sticks with me because it's just so random and it's brilliant. And it's the way he's fighting his own hand, and it's Mein Führer, and he's trying to do the Nazi salute. It's fantastic. It's just every time I think of Peter Sellers, that is what I think of. And to have that much freedom and to just go for that is great. It's a fantastic film. I do love it. It plays on that. And plus, that's a film that's been, parodied, or inspiration's been took for it so much as well. Because I'm sure not maybe the end of it, but is that not got the guy in the plane who ends up riding the nuclear bomb?
Yeah,
And
that's the one. Yeah,
that's been used so much. The Simpsons has used that. I'm sure there's been other films and other comedies that have used like a similar, or if not this scene, they've parodied it. Brilliant film! Such a quotable film as well, which I think is the hallmark of a great comedy. That if you can quote it, even if you can't quote nearly everything, you can at least find one scene that just sticks in your mind. Then I think it's a great comedy, and that's another absolute classic. You're pulling the classics out.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room. Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful film. Yeah, as you say, just film. I'll take to my grave with me. Like, yeah. So, what's your next choice, Robert?
Well, I personally couldn't talk about comedies without pulling in what I think is one of the top comedic actors, if you would. And it has to be a Jim Carrey film. I was torn with this. Now, it's Ace Ventura, but it's not the first one. It's Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, which is the sequel. Uh, I love this film, right? That I actually think I seen this first, and then I seen the first one, but both of them are great. Both of them are so quotable, and I can't pick what one is my favourite. But I just know this was the first of the Ace Venturas that I seen, so this is why I'm picking it, and it's great. So basically, at the start of it, Ace Ventura, who's Jim Carrey's character, they're going through a parody of Cliffhanger. So they're trying. I think if you remember Cliffhanger, Stallone can't save a woman that falls. So in this version, I'm sure he's trying to save a raccoon, and the raccoon slips, and that's how it starts, and it tells you that he ended up going away to, I think it was some Tibetan camp. Yep, there I've got it there. Tibetan monastery, because he's suffering depression. He wants to be enlightened, but then he gets a meeting from a kind of British, not a businessman, but just a wee guy it's been basically just been sent by a big rich guy to try and stop bloodshed in an African country between two tribes. There's a big plot, but we're not getting to that now. Basically, you think these Tibetan monks are all pretty calm, and they basically want rid of him. Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura, has been driving up the wall, it says, and so he's leaving, and he thinks they're all going to be torn up and crying. No, they're all dancing about, running about naked, and doing backflips. It's absolutely fabulous. So basically, the fella's been sent to get him was Fulton Greenwald, if I remember correctly. He's got the poor unfortunate event of having to sit in a plane with him. The plane is Jim Carrey. I feel like was just again told, do what you want, because we talk about films that are parodied so much. There's a bit where he starts playing about with the curtains, and he does what I would think is maybe not a near perfect Shatner impression, but the tone of Shatner's there, and it's there's something on the wing, something, and then he just seems to just go, sorry, what you saying, to the guy who's trying to talk to him. It's fabulous. And then it does these nature calls. It's basically this poor guy stuck on probably what is a long flight from some part of Asia to Africa, and he's got to listen to Jim Carrey or Ace Ventura doing nature, like mating calls. It's just fabulous. Like the whole film is just littered with, I think, prime Jim Carrey. I think I don't know how much freedom he got, but it feels just like he got to do what he wanted. So he basically meets the rich guy who says we have to stop the bloodshed. There's been I think it's like a ceremonial bat it's went missing, and this bat means a lot to the one of the tribes. I think it means a lot to both tribes actually, but it was a gift from, I can't remember the tribes, but it's basically there's a tribe that wears white. We'll go with that because that's what I remember. They're the violent tribe, and they perceived it so stereotypically, like they basically are in the desert of like in Africa, like the plains where it's just not much growing, and the perceived nice tribe is living in this lush forest. But as soon as Jim Carrey meets this rich guy who's telling him the plan, he just has to just be prime Jim Carrey. The guy's standing in front of like a guy showing him a projection, and it's classic. Put your fingers up, and you'll start messing about with the what's in front of you. He shows you these two guys that kidnap and like collect. I don't think they're poachers because I think poachers kill. I mean, I don't know the general work of it, but they're stealing very rare animals, and this rich guy says it could be them. But as it's going on, Jim Carrey's making fake snakes and sticking as if he's sticking the fingers up the nostrils, and the guy snaps, stands in front of the camera, he stands in front of the projection screen and gives it this, can you be serious for a minute, blah, blah, blah. And he just does this weird, makes it look like a superhero and goes, I ho silver away. He just ruins him. But it's like this guy knows that he's such an animal lover. So he takes him, I feel like I'm going to explain the full film, but I'm just trying to pick out what I think are the greatest moments in this film. He takes him into this room. He says, oh, you love animals? I've got a nice animal collection to show you. And so he takes him into this room, and it's just a hunting room. There's just heads of zebras, heads of lions, heads of everything. It's just a hunting room, just everywhere. You know, antelopes. So Jim Carrey has this freak out moment where he's just doing all these Jim Carrey noises. I mean, we all know the classic Jim Carrey face, where he peels the face gets back and the tongue comes out. He's doing all that, and he's making funny noises. And it's just, I don't know if that was a guy trying to get him back, and he goes, oh no, you have a lovely room of death. Bye-bye now. And he leaves. But then you get one back on him. He knows that they're training an elephant outside, and it just says "down, Bobo," and it sits on this ferry, which I think is a Rolls Royce. So he's got his own back. Do you know the worst it is? I've explained when I meet it, and I have missed this. That's what I'm saying. This film is glorious. I'm not even near halfway through, and I'm already tripping up on bits that I'm remembering. I'm not going into detail, but before he meets the rich guy, he's driving in a Jeep that he's doing the classic, head bumping as if the road's bad. The road's a clear straight road. The road's probably the smoothest road you'll ever see, but he's doing all this. And then it's like, I found a shortcut. And he goes through the jungle, and the Jeep started to fall apart, and he starts singing, "Ooh, you pretty chitty chitty bang bang." But Jim Carrey does it in such a Jim Carrey way, the high, the low, and it's, this was a fabulous. I just say how much I love this film. This for me is probably why I've fell in love with Jim Carrey, and why Jim Carrey will always be up there as a top comedy. As I say, I'm not even halfway through the film. There's other scenes where he meets the villagers. It has like if you say the bat's name, they all have to go down. So he has a kind of wordplay. I think the bat's name is Chicago or Shikanki or something along those lines. Jim Carrey starts going Chicago, names that sound like it to try and get them to dip in. He almost plays Simon Says with the African tribe. And he's just messing about with their traditions, but not in an offensive way. It's just he's an idiot. He really is an idiot. And he said there's a scene where he's dusting for print. The whole room's just white. He's just messed up the whole room. It's great. He then goes through an investigation. He finds out there's a rich collector, and to follow him, there is a scene where he's in an animatronic rhino. This is another classic scene. You probably have seen this used somewhere. The animatronic rhino is roasting because he's in the middle of Africa. Africa is not a cold place, and this is the dead straight middle of the day, sun bearing down. It shows you Jim Carrey taking some of his clothes off, and his fan breaks. So he's basically now naked inside this rhino, but it's in like a safari. So people are driving by going, "Oh, look at the lovely rhino," But Jim Carrey's door's broke, so the only way to get out is he sees a hole. The hole's meant to represent his backside. So this family turns up thinking, "Oh my God, this rhino's getting buff," and it's Jim Carrey trying to bust at the back of this rhino. It's fabulous. It's just, there is so much with this film that is brilliant. You basically learn that there was a twist, and that the man that you think is going to help, spoiler, but the film is from 1995, so if you haven't seen it, that's on you. It's basically a twist. The man who you think was bringing them in to save them has actually, I think if I remember this rightly, he had the bat stolen because his plan was the tribes would kill each other and then he could take the land. But in the perception he'd done everything he could, I'm sure that's how it got. It's basically just some bad guy using a very ritual African tradition. They'll kill each other, and I think he'll steal the land. But Jim Carrey is fabulous. Like, I think in terms of how I feel about Jim Carrey comedies, this is maybe one of the best. Even the first one is fantastic as well. And I'm pretty disheartened to hear that they're going to make a third one, which I thought I would be so excited for. But having watched how Dumb and Dumber 2 was it called when? I felt
which one's Dumb and Dumber 2 and which one's Dumb and Dumberer? Dumb and Dumberer is the original sequel, right, from years ago, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah, because there's one that's a prequel.
Yeah,
I think
that'll be the one. Yeah,
I think Dumb and Dumber is the prequel. Do you know what? But the sequel, that was dreadful, and I mean they're saying, "Oh, this for the writers of Sonic the Hedgehog." I just don't see how Ace Ventura can be made. So, being a big fan of the Ace Ventura series, I'm going to have to be that person where I'm going to go, "I don't want a new film. No, stop it." I'll have to be that guy. I hope if they make it, I hope I'm wrong, but I just got a horrible feeling. No, as I say, I have missed out. There is so much in this film to talk about that we'd be here for hours. So I'm trying to just give you a pinpoint, but if you haven't seen this, you have to. This is prime Jim Carrey, I feel like the Ace Ventura series is him. Don't know if you've seen it or...
Yeah, it's another one of these ones you say where like I don't ever sit down to watch an Ace Ventura film. I just over the years see bits of it and
Mhm.
piece them together on telly. Like, but for me, like the thing that like always sticks out about Ace Ventura is what you're saying. Like every other Jim Carrey film, there's a normal guy at the center who's always about to burst into the Jim Carrey persona.
Mhm.
But with Ace Ventura, that massive wild man is the character, you know, like, and yeah, that's it. Almost feels like, yeah, everything he's done since is like looking back on Ace Ventura, thinking, okay, we want that, but we want to like do something else first and like show dimension before you do your shtick kind of thing. But yeah, it's like you know what you're getting if you go back to the mid 90s Jim Carrey. Like if you
Yeah,
like it, you're gonna like it. That's the exactly what you're saying, basically. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, at this point, I just want to like didn't really acknowledge up the top. Like a lot of people are probably thinking, "Oh, you say you love Young Frankenstein. Why haven't you picked Young Frankenstein?" But I've already talked about that in monster movies, and it would be one of these. It would be like in my top 4 or 5 comedies, but well, I of course, want to use this opportunity to spotlight another film that I feel like it's a cult classic, but I don't know that like I feel like there's a lot of people who like maybe have heard the name of this film but haven't actually seen it. I'm going with Galaxy Quest, which is one of these films that just sits in a pantheon for me of just perfect films that I can go back to again and again. So basically, Galaxy Quest is a parody of Star Trek, and more than just a parody of the show itself, a parody of the lives of the actors in Star Trek. So basically, it's about a group of actors who were in a show called Galaxy Quest, and now it's, I believe, 17 or 18 years later, and basically their entire lives revolve around going to conventions, etc. And at one of these conventions, they're approached by these strange people who say, "Oh, we need you to come and help us," like in weird voices and stuff. And of course, this turns out to be a group of actual aliens who have watched Galaxy Quest from up in space and thought that the crew are actually space heroes who can come and help them in their plight. So yeah, this is a it's a comedy with heart, is what I'd say. Like, of course, like you have all these like parodies of Galaxy Quest, Star Trek, rather, etc. But you also have like a real emotional core to this film where you have Tim Allen playing Jason, who is basically Jason is basically the William Shatner of the Galaxy Quest cast, where he's this kind of big head who like is trapped in this feeling of like being, oh, I was the lead on this fantastic series and like that makes me such a big deal. But at the same time, you have this feeling that like, oh, he really loves his fans and wants to like please his fans and be the hero they see him as. And like the fact that like the rest of the cast, of course, don't like him, kind of like speaks to like a kind of like a kind of like a very relatable depressive state, I suppose you could say, about Jason, because you have this like scene near the start of the film after like, oh, he's overheard a couple of guys talking in the bathroom at the convention about, oh, a bunch of losers like begging for autographs, and they've not had a real TV job for 18 years, and like then you just see him just in his underwear back at his flat just drinking and watching Galaxy Quest. But like it's the watching Galaxy Quest that brings him back, and like he's like quoting the dramatic lines along with himself on the TV. And yeah, it makes you really empathize with the character, and like just a great cast all around. Like Sigourney Weaver's in this, like she's fantastic in this film, like, and Alan Rickman. Like this speaks to like Galaxy Quest I first saw on TV just randomly, but I feel like it must have been pretty quickly after it came out, because I specifically remember seeing the first Harry Potter film in the cinema when it came out and seeing Alan Rickman going, "Hey, it's the guy from Galaxy Quest." So yeah, of course he is playing the Leonard Nimoy type character who just cannot be bothered with Galaxy Quest, and like he has this famous line that all the fans are quoting back to him, and he just is irritated to hell by it. And of course, that brings into his arc by the end that he eventually has to say this line by Grapfar's hammer, "You shall be avenged." And yeah, it's as I say, there's like a real dramatic arc to this film. And the world building of it, like you can buy like the look and feel of the film as an actual Star Trek film. And like, yeah, when they go to like the planet with all the carnivorous little baby aliens, and the big rock creature, it's an exciting space adventure as well as this comedy where these characters are being forced into this situation and are trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? Like, of course, you have that funny scene where they've said, where the aliens have said, it would be an honor if you would pilot the ship out of the spaceport for the first time. And the guy, Tommy, is sat down and like the ship is just lazing to the side as he's trying to pilot it out. And yeah, it's a hilarious film and a heartfelt film. I just love this film. So, and Robert, I know you're a fan of this film as well, right?
Oh, it's a great film. It's such a self-aware film as well. That there are scenes in it where they have to get to a certain area in the ship, and there's like big pipes and pistons, and Sigourney Weaver's just like, why would this be here? And it's so true. Like Star Trek always seem to have like these random issues, and you go, why would that be there?
Because it's in the show. I don't care if it was in the show. This episode was badly written.
And Sigourney Weaver, like, I just think the part she played was perfect. The part she says was, I just repeat what the computer says. I was only there because I look good. But she plays it so well. Alan Rickman, fantastic. Because what I loved about it is I so could see it. Like, he was just the Shakespearean actor that's been stuck into this thing that he hates, and he wants to leave, but every time Tim Allen's character always says to him, the show must go on, and it just breaks him. And I love it how he hates the line and how it gets used by Grafskar's hammer.
Grapthar's hammer, yeah.
By Grapthar's hammer, oh, what a savings. But it's classic Alan Rickman because he's just so deadpan. Like, he's no wacky. But the scenes I love is the aliens were brilliant as well. Like the villain alien was such a Star Trek villain as well. Like I could see that on Star Trek, and I just think the feeling that they thought it was all fake. Well, Tim Allen thought it was fake until they realised it was real. That is great. I love that. It's a fantastic comedy. It's another very quotable comedy. And as you say, yeah, even the aliens that they had to save were great. The awkwardness of them, and they were fantastic. The way their voices would go, they were brilliant. Great. It is a brilliant comedy. Tim Allen, it arguably is Tim Allen. Well, I think anyway, one of Tim Allen's best moments.
Oh, definitely. Like this and the first couple of Toy Story films. It's just his classics, really. Like,
even on the talk of being so self-aware, it's Sam Rockwell's character that I think is arguably the star, only in the sense that he knows how it's going to work out because his name's Guy. His character's name's Guy in it, and
if we can give some background to him, he's like
he's fabulous.
He's the guy who just happened to be at the convention, like shilling for autographs because he had like a couple of lines in one episode of Galaxy Quest and then was killed off 15 minutes in. So when they finally get to space, he has this complex about, I'm going to be the first one who dies because I was the first one who dies in the show. And like,
that's great.
Yeah.
But it's such a self-aware film, and it's brilliant. It's great. I love it. That is such a good film. It's a good pick again. It's great. Well done.
Thank you. Yes, and for me, this is one that's like, as I say, it's a cult classic, and but I feel like a lot of people probably haven't seen it. Like, so if you haven't, go and watch it. It's truly one of the great comedies of the 90s and all time, really. Yeah, fantastic film, brilliant. So yeah, Robert, what's your next pick?
Well, my next one is also got comedians in it that I think, for me, these fellas are my favourite. They've extensively littered through British comedy, but they've got a style that I don't think a lot of people like, which is weird. It's very slapstick, it's very raunchy, and it's very goofy. And it's the Bottom movie, Bottom Hotel Paradiso. Uh, I I love this film, and I love Bottom, and I love everything Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson done, from their parts in The Young Ones, the Dangerous Brothers, and even to their small parts in it. Was it a comedy shorts? Had certain bits, Bad News, the band, and Four Salesmen and stuff like that. It was fantastic. Their parts were great. This film is what I've got an issue with sometimes when comedy TV shows or any TV show, even a drama, gets a film. Sometimes you lose the feeling of the show, but this film manages to do a brilliant job of just feeling like Bottom shoved into like an hour and a half or how long an episode. Just feels like a long episode of Bottom. It's brilliant. It's kept the pervertedness of Rick Mail's character. It's kept the slapstick, violent humour. Uh, and the cast as well that's around them is great. Bill Nye's in it. Bill Nye plays the is like an older gentleman who I think is the common law couple, as Rick Mail calls them. Uh, his I'd say his girlfriend or wife is also from Shaun of the Dead. Her name escapes me. It's actually Simon Pegg's girlfriend in Shaun of the Dead.
Oh,
The
Kate
blonde-haired girl.
Ashfield.
I think that's it. She's in it.
Yeah.
And Simon Pegg's in it as well. Simon Pegg just happens to be the unfortunate father of a family that turns up to have to deal with Rick Mail and his pervertedness. So basically, they own a hotel. It's horrible. It's rubbish. It's if you've no Bottom and you looked at their flat, the hotel isn't going to be clean. The hotel falls apart. It's accident prone. There's things waiting to hurt Rick Mail or Adrian Edmondson at any moment, and it's a lot of that kind of humour. Like simple stuff. Start of it, Adrian Edmondson's actually on a motorbike, sleeping, driving, and there's a whole scene of him at the start of Rick Mail getting ready, and Adrian Edmondson being stuck in these weird positions on a bike, pulling a drink out, going to the toilet on his bike, but Rick Mail getting ready, and he's got a name tag that he sticks, and it's classic. He's obviously stabbed his nipple, and there's blood everywhere. It's that stupid kind of humour. And his name, Rick Mail's name, is fabulous in this. His name is Mr. Twait, but people keep calling him Mr. Twat, and he has a whole go at it. It's basically just arguments. And there's a callbacks to the name as well, and it's great. So they run a horrible hotel next to, like, I think it's like a nuclear power plant or a coal. I don't know. It's like not a nice area for a hotel, anyway. I'll say that. And you have a couple of guests. If you remember the Carry On Screaming films, there was I'm 100% certain it's now Carry On Screaming. There was the very beautiful woman in it with the big breasts, shall we say. She's actually in this as well. Not as the character she played in Carry On. She's obviously older, but she's lost her memory, and she's went a bit senile, I'm sure the word is. And Rick Mail uses that fully to his advantage. You find out that she's paid 4 years in advance for a hotel she'll never leave. Her breakfast is just one boiled egg. She gets treated like garbage. You find out that Rick Mail was pretending to be a gynecologist and all that to her, because obviously he's perverted. I mean, I did see a thing. It was like, would that comedy survive now? I couldn't care less because it was made in the 90s, so deal with it. It's got the classic Bottom scene. Is the chef has ran away and drank everything, so Adrian Edmondson's character has to go into the kitchen while Rick Mail is the waiter. But they've got the flopping passing doors between the restaurant and the kitchen, so you'd think you would just walk in, pass your order through. No, they've got a wee speaking hole right next to the door that they're basically at, and he's going, Phoebe. And it's like the whole Phoebe thing gets on Rick Mail's nerves eventually, because Adrian Edmondson forgets. And he goes, oh, sorry, Phoebe, and all this. It's just so stupid. Basically, there's a fight starts between the two of them based on Rick Mail going, Phoebe, one boiled egg. That's it. And Adrian Edmondson goes, wait there, I'll write it down. And it's become such bottom slapstick humour that it's just, you don't need to write down one boiled egg. Then it's his pen has snapped, his pencil has snapped. So Adrian Edmondson says, I'll pass you a pencil through the hole. Look, Rick Mail says, I'll flick you a pencil through the hole. Instead of just going through the doors and giving it to him. So Adrian Edmondson lifts his glasses up, puts his eye to the hole, to which the pencil has now been flicked in his eye. So it's that kind of stupid comedy. And he's screaming. So now Rick Mail's opened the door, punched them, told them to stop being stupid. Rick Mail then leaves to go and smooze the guests, to be nice to them. So he goes to someone, what a lovely blouse you have. At this point, Adrian Edmondson's annoyed that he's had a pencil in the eye. So he shoots the pencil back through the hole like a dart, which then seems to go right into Rick Mail's anus. For Rick Mail to fall on the table, and it looks like he's trying to grab the woman's breasts. And he shows it. And they just have this big fight. It's classic Bottom. If you've seen Bottom, there is a lot of violent, stupid humour in it. You know, where they hit each other with fire extinguishers, they're hitting their daft desks. So basically that kind of humour. What happens is Rick Mail gets knocked out after it. There's a big fight. I'm sure. Yeah, he gets knocked out. So the guests have left. They've just ran away and left, not paid. So he's now got no guests. He's panicking. Now Simon Pegg's poor family has to turn up. And they just get treated like rubbish. Rick Mail hates the children. It turns out that they have that Simon Pegg's wife has a bra set, like a rubber bra, that Rick Mail, being so perverted, has got sneak ways into the room. He's got passageways, so he sneaks in the room and he's trying it on. But they return to the room, but he runs away again, and it basically just ends up this whole problem of Rick Mail running about the hotel. At the same time, there's this big Italian movie star called Gina Carbonara that has arrived. She's run away from Italy and run away from the limelight, and she comes here, and it's basically just, it's more slapstick humour. There is a scene where they are in the kitchen trying to get this. No, she's walked into the kitchen and Rick Mail's hiding in the oven. The oven, it shows you earlier, if you walk over a certain floorboard, the gas will switch on, and that's what happens. He's managed to, the door will lock as well, so he's now trapped in this oven, and she stepped on the gas and flicked the gas on only by walking on a floorboard. She then goes out to talk to Adrian Edmondson's character. She says, it's a lovely hotel, blah, 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 I'd like to stay here. But at the same time, Rick Mail's hand is trying to get through to turn the gas off. You see the red button that is the ignite it. And basically, as they're having a conversation, the back door blows open, and Adrian Edmondson goes, we've got mice, Basque separatist mice. So it's like, it's just so stupid humour. Basically, it's just great. It's all about, it's raunchy and it's perverted. And basically, what happens, that just I'll fast forward very quickly, they find fish. Turns out the fish was actually dropped from I think it's a testing site. The fish is radioactive. So basically everybody eats the fish and they all end up unwell, apart from Gina Carbonara, Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson. So they have all these people being sick. Gina Carbonara's angry boyfriend turns up, whose name escapes me again, but if you've ever seen Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13, the Night Fox.
Oh, what is that guy's name? Oh.
Yeah, well, it's him.
Heard him described as the Tom Cruise of France, but I can't remember his name.
I've heard of that as well. Yeah. It's he's fantastic in it. He's great. He's just, I think they played him as the stereotypical European, where he's, I don't know if they've tried to make him Italian in this, or if he is, I don't know. I think he is French, actually, now you say it, but I think he's Italian in this, and it's stereotypical. They're raunchy and they always want to have sex, and that's what he wants for him. He rips her wedding dress off. He's not a very nice man, let's say, right? As Adrian Edmondson does say that he's not a very nice man. And it's just such a stupid film, but I love it because I'm such a fan of Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson's slapstick humour. You know, I love Bottom, the TV series. It's one of my favourite comedies. You know, there's a great scene where they're trying to sneak through in the film. They're trying to sneak around the kind of roof, and you hear owl noises, and it turns out it's Adrian Edmondson that's just doing stupid owl noises for no reason. And Rick Mail tells him to stop it. Aggie flicks him again, but as Rick Mail's moved, the building's such an old that he's fell through the floorboard and these candles went in his eye. So the next scene shows you him going like this, going, candle in the eye. And Adrian Edmondson's character goes, okie dokie, and sticks the candle in his other eye. It's just the stupidity of stuff like that. I don't know, Peter, if you've seen it or anything to do with Bottom or even those two actors themselves.
Well, first of all, Vincent Cassel. That's the guy's name, right?
That's the man.
No, I've never seen Bottom, to be honest, and I've never seen this film. But like Rick Mail, he's someone I'll always think of. Flashheart from Blackadder when I think of Rick Mail, and yeah, it was just a lively soul, that Rick Mail.
Yep.
Weirdly, if I can go off on a weird tangent, there's what I first think of him from, like years before I really would have known who he was, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen this film. It's like a weird memory for me. Is it something called Merlin the Return? You ever heard of this? It was this like little obscure film where it's all about how, I don't know, Merlin's kind of, I don't know if it's time travel or he's just lived a long time, but he's living in this modern day English village. And it's just this stupid as hell film where, like, I don't know, there's King Arthur and the knights show up and they see a 18-wheeler truck on the highway and go, oh, what is this beast we see? And of course they're attacking it, and Arthur's getting on the like front and just stabbing his sword through the head of it. But yeah, that's weirdly the film I think of when I think of Rick Mail. So I don't know, it's probably terrible to be honest, but it's there in my memory. Yeah, I should check this out, Bottom, because Rick Mail was a cool guy. May he rest in peace.
I think this is the primo of Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson's partnership. It is great. It's just so slapstick. It's classic what you expect from these actors. You know, I get a lot of people may not like it because it's just seen as too stupid, but sometimes they're the best comedies. Simple, effective, and straight to the point. And I love the two of them. I think the two of them are one of the best partnerships I've ever seen. And it's a shame that, you know, Rick Mail is no longer here. They were fantastic. I love Bottom. I've seen every episode. I know every episode. I love it. And the film's fantastic. It's great. I still suggest that you give it a try at least.
Yeah, I think I will after. Yeah, that sounds quite interesting. So yeah, and I feel like that's a good transition to my final pick of the night, which is something from another beloved comedy duo. We've already mentioned Simon Pegg tonight. It's the second part of the Cornetto trilogy, and it's like, I know it'll be controversial because Shaun of the Dead is usually thought of as Edgar Wright's best film, but for me, Hot Fuzz is Edgar Wright's best film. This was like my first exposure to Edgar Wright and the whole Peg Frost team, and yeah, this is like one of those perfect comedies for me. Of course, the plot is Simon Pegg plays Nicholas Angel, who is the ultimate police officer of the UK, basically, and so much so that the other police are embarrassed by him, how they're being basically shown up by him, and they're basically shipping him off to this little village of Sanford as punishment, basically. And I feel like part of why I relate to this so much is like, I always have that first night on holidays where if you go somewhere, if you arrive in the middle of the night, you feel this tremendous isolation that you're in this new place you don't recognize. And I feel like you can get that immediately. Like, of course, there's brilliant, really smart and layered comedy going through Hot Fuzz the full way, but I feel like there is this kind of somberness at the heart of that, where Angel is in this complete almost hell to him of this quiet little village. And yeah, of course, from that point he meets Danny, played by Nick Frost, who is the ultimate fanboy basically, and is just asking him about stuff he's done, like, you ever fired a gun whilst in High Speed Pursuit, and saying, oh, like, have you seen this movie, you've seen that movie. And I feel like, I don't know, was this Was this the movie that lionized Bad Boys 2, do you think? Like, because I feel like Bad Boys 2 is part of the wave that signals the downturn of Michael Bay's career, but I feel like maybe Hot Fuzz had a hand in raising it back up.
Yeah, there is a lot of Bad Boys 2 references throughout the film. Yeah, maybe. That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, the film is like so layered, so well put together. Like, of course, like these accidents start happening, people start dying in random situations, and of course, because the town of just never known any serious crime, they're just writing them off as accidents. You know, the church, this aspire from the church roof has fallen on someone's head and crushed him basically, and oh, don't worry, folks, just an accident, just an accident. It's making me think, I don't know, like, remember once we were having this big family party at my, like, family at my house, and then, like, I don't know, my cousin's little boys, like, we just walked in on them. One of them was crying, and the other one was saying, "Oh, it's just a wee accident." It just turned, that's just such a Hot Fuzz moment to me. It's like, what's happened to society here? But yeah, from this point, of course, we have Simon Skinner, played by the great Timothy Dalton, who is, let's say, so clearly the villain right from when like he first shows up on screen. He's just this sinister comedic presence, just saying, look me up, Sergeant, I'm a slasher of prices. I run the local supermarkets," and like, yeah, it's, yeah, of course. Can he be the villain because he's so clearly the villain? It's just a colorful town where, like, I feel like all the like you have the neighborhood watch, obviously, who, spoiler alert, are actually behind it all. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I feel like a lot of them they're all basically played by classic action and horror actors. Like, of course, Timothy Dalton is playing Skinner. The priest is played by Belloc from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and one of the guys is the villain in Lethal Weapon 3, etc. And Billy Whitelaw is in there, of course. But yeah, basically you get to this point where Angel uncovers the fact that the neighborhood watch are basically killing anyone who makes the town imperfect so that they can win Village of the Year, which completely puts he like comes up with a completely plausible theory over why Timothy Dalton is doing it, but like Dalton's like, no, like that's plausible, but no, that's not why we're doing it. We're just trying to like kill all these useless people. And of course, it ends in a massive gunfight where basically every cliched action movie trope that Nick Frost has been going out throughout the film comes back in a creative way. And of course, you have like the police force who are all played by these great actors. They like all bond together. Like you have Rafe Spall, Paddy Considine, and Olivia Colman in a minor role. Like, it's like this is going to be one of like the best casts of any film. Like, both the people Edgar Wright's bringing back from the past and folk like the ones I've just mentioned who were like kind of just starting their careers at the time and have gone on to do great work. It's, yeah, this is like an incredibly well made films. Like, makes me like, yeah. I know that like a lot of people refer to Rob Zombie as the Quentin Tarantino of horror. Like, I kind of like can see that, and like I like some of Zombie's films, but Edgar Wright almost feels like the British Tarantino in the way that like he has like these intricate plots and really catchy dialogue, and it's just all so layered in that way. And yeah, this is a film that like I'm really glad I get to talk about here. So it's like a film I go back to so often. Just love this one. So, and Robert, we've talked about Edgar Wright a lot, so I know you probably love this one as well.
Oh yeah, Hot Fuzz is brilliant. Where do you start? But this is the thing. It's what I really liked about Hot Fuzz is I was interested in every single character from the neighborhood watch or the neighborhood association, the NWA.
Yeah, NWA, Neighborhood
Right.
Watch Alliance. Which,
It was
yeah,
great from even the really stupid moments where like they go to see Shakespeare in Love, and then I don't know. If you look at it, they always say we had two actors waiting in the wing. Yes, he played a cadaver and stuff like that, and there is a big shootout going on in the square. But you can actually see posters for Romeo and Juliet. It's the two actors that they're talking about. It's like they're trying to make a new one after they've killed the very terrible actor who is actually played by a great actor. He's played, again, the name escapes me, but if you've seen Shameless, it's the guy that plays Frank. He's a very, a talented actor, but they've ruined Romeo and Juliet, and it's a great scene where he says, "Oh, you killed him? Oh, he killed Bill Shakespeare? What? Oh, yeah, right, cool." It's great what it is. It's so plausible, but Simon Pegg does come up with this great conspiracy, and yeah, it's nothing to do with that. It's just to the greater good. The greater good. Shut up. Like
Greater
all
good.
that. But like as well, he ends up in the crypt, and he just all these people, the great big bushy beard, and it's a fan. The cast is brilliant. The cast is just superb. I would say it is better than Shaun of the Dead. And I love Shaun of the Dead, but I do think this is far better. If you just go with the casting alone, I mean, I think there was maybe more money in Hot Fuzz, but Timothy Dalton was great. I just think, I don't know why I was so surprised that Timothy Dalton was in it. I just don't know why that shocks me more that Timothy Dalton. I keep saying Timothy Dalton, but it was fantastic. Here Comes the Fuzz. That's another, again, a very quotable comedy. And it just, Danny does want to live the action lifestyle. The Point Break reference. Have you ever fired a gun up there and gone, he does it when his dad runs away. There's a whole running joke about a swan, is it?
Yeah.
And then the swan ends up being a hero near the end. It's great. And even the supporting cast as well. Bill Nye's in it again.
Martin Freeman shows up for a cameo right at the start.
Yeah,
Steve Coogan, you were about to say, yeah.
And then is it not the biggest one? Is it not Kate Blanchett that plays his ex-girlfriend?
You don't see her face. She's under a mask, which we all are now. But that's incredible. An even bigger one actually. They have like the scene at the start where they're going through Angel's credits basically, and they're going through like he achieved this, and this, has sustained 3 wounds in the field. Most recently, when stabbed by a man dressed as Father Christmas. And the Santa in that scene, you just see him for a split second. It's Peter Jackson.
You're joking? I didn't know that.
It's Peter Jackson, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing... The cameos are great as well. But Peter Jackson, how do you get Peter Jackson in that? Even Kate Blanchett. It's the pulling power that Edgar Wright had was brilliant. That's another film you could spend 4 hours talking about. Just for all the references, all the little inside jokes.
Yeah, you're saying you could spend 4 hours. I feel like you could spend 4 hours on 10 minutes of the film, just breaking down everything.
It's just a very well wrote, well acted, well directed, just well made comedy. As I say, the little jokes are very foreshadowing, and every time, as you say, that Timothy Dalton, he turns up, is it not playing music that references that he could, he's playing fire.
After the house is blown up, and he's playing Romeo and Juliet by Dire Straits after they've killed Romeo and Juliet.
It's all that. It's amazing. Simon Pegg was great in it as well, and it did have actually quite a nice emotional touch through it, that Simon Pegg does need to loosen up and he wants to help Nick Frost. The female whose name is it Olivia
Colman.
That's it. And I said Newman for some reason. Olivia Colman's character was great in it as well, where she's got all the sexual jokes. I do like a bit of girl on girl, all that kind of stuff. The simple jokes. The 2 Andys, they were great. The swear jar, that scene with the swear jar was fantastic.
I feel like Edgar Wright likes to do that because they, of course, had the scene in Shaun of the Dead where after he's broken up with Liz, where they're just partying through the night and Peter Serafinowicz comes in and they just start saying the F-bomb at each other over and over again. So this is like doing that again. We're like, Leslie Taylor was fucking murdered.
Give me a fucking break. It was great. I loved it. And then just what I love about it is even as I say, every character is so, you're interested. the one at the start where you think it's, why does this guy in reception have, different haircut every day? Turns out it's two different people. Well, it's the same actor, but it's two different characters. No one tells me nothing. Oh, it's great. When he arrests Nick Frost and realizes Nick Frost is a police officer, and his punishment is chunky monkey ice cream. I think it did sum up villages quite well. That being a village police officer, I would imagine there's not much to do.
Yeah.
But it's great. Every time I want to stop, I just think of another. This is what I'm saying. It's such a good, everyone carries guns. Who? Farmers mums, farmers mums, and it's
And
like,
at the end they have, he's fighting the farmer and he shouts for Mum. His mum comes out with a gun. Yeah, that's it's beautiful.
Or we all sell apples. Your dad says apples and grapes. Like, it's just, it's a great film. What do you want from the shop? Cornetto. I love how they kept that joke, just sticks in it for me. Of course, the Cornetto trilogy. Great. Yeah. That's another classic. Would you say Hot Fuzz goes down as a classic British comedy that'll be remembered? I would say so. I mean, I would say the Cornetto trilogy went down a bit on the sense of The World's End.
Yeah, The World's End, which it's a good film, but it's like it's less accessible to me, if you know what I mean. Like, it's kind of like, it's more downbeat, but it's a good film, But for me, like, Hot Fuzz is the one where it's like, Shaun of the Dead's a great film, but part of me is just like, folks, stop concentrating on Shaun of the Dead being a great film. Hot Fuzz is the masterwork in that trilogy. Like, concentrate on that. Yeah. That's the one that should be held up. Yeah. Amazing. So yeah, that brings us to our last pick of the night. So what is it then, Robert?
So my last one is my most modern one. And I would say, I'm not saying this is the American Hot Fuzz, but I would say in the sense of the British casting in Hot Fuzz was superb. And I think the American casting in this film is superb. I am going with Tropic Thunder. Where do you start with this again? The cast is Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Robert Downey Jr., who, can I just say, deserved an Oscar for this. Robert Downey Jr.'s character, we'll go into that, was brilliant. And he's very controversial, but I don't buy the controversy at all. You've also got Jay Baruchel and Brandon T. Jackson. These are the prima donna actors that cause a lot of frustration at the start and then get sent away to make another kind of film. The director of this film set is Steve Coogan. He's not in it very much, but when he's in it, he's great. And then you've got what you would say the ensemble characters, who, by the way, are all massive actors. Tom Cruise, shockingly, was, I might add, the best character. Maybe. He was great. You had Nick Nolte, fabulous. Matthew McConaughey playing Ben Stiller's agent. And Bill Hader, who's a brilliant, everybody knows Bill Hader's comedy. So Tropic Thunder is basically a comedy parody of, I would say, other Vietnam films, but not parodying the film. Like, I'm trying to think how to describe it. So
it's almost in a way like you have like the long story about the making of Apocalypse Now, which took 3 years. So it's almost a parody of that in a way.
Yeah, it's like not parodying the film's release or like what happens in the film. It parodies more what happened off screen kind of thing. So it's like the director issues, the actor problems, which Apocalypse Now really did suffer from. So we all know that Brando was the big issue of Apocalypse Now. He had his problems, he's overweight and stuff like that. It doesn't delve into that, but it basically goes with those issues that the crew was a bit of a disaster. It was a party scene, and that's basically what's happening here. Steve Coogan, being the director, just cannot hold this all together. It's over budget. It's destroyed Vietnam's jungles. It's just going on to become the most expensive flop in history. So Tom Cruise is obviously the guy that's bankrolling this, and he says, you've got to sort it out, I'm pulling the plug. And Nick Nolte's supposed to be who this book turned into a film was based on. So he says, let's take them off the grid. And Danny McBride is in it, as well as a pyromaniac demolitions expert. He's fantastic. So basically now the film has went from like a big feature to sticking these actors in a jungle with cameras just watching them, and Steve Coogan allegedly will be in the distance filming them, and they'll get into scenarios, but the film will never stop filming, allegedly. Uh, and this is where the characters really start to come out, because at the start of the film you're introduced to trailers. So Ben Stiller's character, I always try and figure out. I'm still trying to figure out actually who these were based on. So Ben Stiller was like known for these big action films, but they just kept making them and they lost their touch. And it's now he tried comedy, it didn't really work out. He's allegedly tried to do a serious drama called Simple Jack, where he's played someone with we'll say a mental disability, but it's really over the top, really bad, really cringeworthy. And it's like this film has to be great, or it's goodbye to Tugger, as he's called, or as Matthew McConaughey calls him, Tugger Nuts. And then you find out Jack Black is a character that his character's basically just been in stupid fart comedies where he plays 8 characters. So I don't know if that's a touch at Eddie Murphy, or whoever, but I just think Robert Downey Jr. of the like 5 prima donnas is great. He plays 5-time Oscar award winner, Kirk Lazarus. Now, Downey Jr.'s character, Kirk Lazarus, has blonde hair and blue eyes, but he's playing the African American Sergeant Lincoln Osiris. So controversially, I don't really believe there is an offence here. My thing about blackface is it's all about context. In this film, it's about the blackface, so he's not blackface for no reason and no one mentions it. It's controversial that he's went into blackface, and they bring this up in the film because he's a method actor. He's almost adopted this kind of stereotypical black voice. He sounds almost like the fella at Lethal Weapon. That's the kind of voice he's trying to go with. Whose name, just annoyingly, I cannot remember other actors' names now. But he's gone. That's the man, Danny Glover. Well, it wasn't going to be Mel Gibson. That he's gone with this Danny Glover voice, and he's just so great in it. But they've also got another African American who is an African American, and he's got a gripe with this character because it's like, there's arguments as it goes on. Basically, what's happened is, I'll run you through what's happened. Right, they've landed. Steve Coogan's gave this great speech about how the helicopter is God and I am the son Jesus, and through me you shall be reborn. He then turns around, steps in a mine, and gets blown to bits. So they all go, "Oh, what's happened here?" But Ben Stiller's, it's all smoke mirrors, special effects. They have landed near a drug cartel. I don't know what country they end up in, but I know they end up crossing the border from Vietnam into some other country, or maybe they're still in Vietnam, but it's a drug kind of cartel. They're away to attack them, but they're watching them, and Ben Stiller's basically drinking the blood of Steve Coogan, thinking it's corn syrup, and licking his like brain stuff. So he's created an intimidation for these people about to attack them, because much like the start of Galaxy Quest, Tropic Thunder, they think this is all a part of the film. They don't realise they're actually being shot at with real bullets and stuff like that. So Ben Stiller's giving it the heroic kind of forward rolls and the big gunfire. They basically fight the gang off, and it's just about them going through the jungle, think they're making this film while dealing with their internal issues. So Ben Stiller, his ego of trying to revive his careers started to appear. The young African American fella is trying to sell his energy drinks, which is called Booty Sweat. But then he has his problems, his arguments with Robert Downey Jr. because he's always doing this African American persona because he's method acting and he'll not leave the character. Jack Black's character has got a problem as he's a heroin addict, and that is fantastic. He says he's not got his vitamins. There's scenes where Jack Black steals it because he's having a fit of not being on his heroin, and he's saying, I need to, he wants to bite a water buffalo, and he wants to wear its stomach lining as a leotard. And this causes arguments because Downey Jr.'s staying in character and he's talking as if he's still Lincoln Osiris. So he's basically going, "You're in luck. Back in San Ante, I used to crack up some crawfish. on the patio. So he's doing this really stereotypical, probably a very offensive African American voice. And it basically ends up an argument starts between him and the actual African American actor, where he has a jibe calling him Kangaroo Jack and stuff. And then again, stuff happens to Ben Stiller. He's left them because they've had a big fallout where they go, wait a minute, we lost. Ben Stiller's actually took them the wrong way, but he won't take it. So he leaves them. And it's great because you have a whole argument about, I can't believe you people, to which Jimmy Jr.'s character, staying in character as a black guy, goes, what do you mean, you people? To which the younger, actual African-American black fella turns around and goes, what do you mean, you people? So it's this whole, like, they handle this race argument brilliantly, and they make it a comedy, you know, and they do such a good job of showing you that the context of Downey Jr.'s blackface was the joke, that it was to show a controversy. I don't know how to explain it because blackface is very. I'm all about the context of it. I think if you have an episode where they're explaining it, I've not got a problem with that. Again, you could argue, oh, that's because I'm white. There was, so just to touch on that, Always Sunny in Philadelphia is an American comedy where they use blackface and they remake Lethal Weapon. And so basically they go as Danny Glover, but the episodes are about this. That reminds me of Tropic Thunder because it states that the whole point of the film is or the series is blackface right or wrong? And it shows you it's not just blackface for blackface sake, but the argument. So back onto the film, the arguments between Downey Jr. is and the Brandon actor's called and said is fabulous. This is another one of these films that there's so much to talk about, like the films I think we've all said, that both have said, that I could sit here forever. They have an argument about that fella calls him Crocodile Dundee, and Robert Downey Jr.'s like, look, you're about to step over the line. That man's a national treasure. And he calls him like a dingo at your baby. And he goes, you know, that was a real story. So basically, he's pushing Downey Jr.'s buttons. So he ends up calling him a koala hug and, you know, the N word. I will not say it in case it causes offence to some people, but he calls him that. So Downey Jr. playing an African American, still in character as an African American, he takes offence at the N word. So he slaps him, hugs him, and basically starts singing the theme song from the Jeffersons. And that's what it's all about. It's like he's so. It's just I'm darting about because the film has so many great moments. You know, Matthew McConaughey being Ben Stiller's agent wants to get in TiVo. So he has this big argument with Tom Cruise. But as he's having an argument with Tom Cruise, Flaming Dragon, which is the group that's been attacking them, has kidnapped Ben Stiller and said, Simple Jack belongs to us now. So originally Matthew McConaughey thinks another agency's pinched them, and it's not until they realise that it's a terrorist or drug cartel, to which Tom Cruise shines because he's so angry, and it's just like, step back and literally, and he just shouts like, fuck your old face. And it's the whole, you'll need a binding resolution to stop me from fucking you up. I will massacre you. I'm talking Scott's death, motherfucker. And while this is going on, Matthew McConaughey's face is just, like, he's getting right into it. And it's great. They basically have, they have their moments. Every character, again, is very interesting. They have a big dead and rescue. This is where I think the Apocalypse Now scene kind of comes through, where they make it that Ben Stiller's become a company to staying in this village. They love him. He gets a standout ovation because he's remade Simple Jack, to which he's actually toned down on the playing a character that's mentally disabled, and he's using the emotional touch, as Downey Jr. says. You know, he was a critic of the film, or Kirk Lazarus, sorry. But they have this great scene where Ben Stiller is wearing, I think if I remember rightly, he is wearing what Marlon Brando is wearing. He's got the black face paint, and his head's just in the shadows in and out. And it's this whole, I know what dude I am. And it's just talking about the weakness of some actors to get lost in their parts. And it's got that great line, I'm a dude, playing a dude, disguising another dude. And Ben Stiller shows in the mirror, it's just like, but do you know what dude you are right now? And basically, Kirk Lazarus, Downey Jr.'s character, smashes him and breaks down and goes, I don't know what dude I am. Starts going, no, sorry, before that, sorry. He starts, basically, before I get caught up there, he smashes the mirror away and starts going through all these characters because he's a method actor. I'm not Lincoln Osiris. I'm not Neil Armstrong. I'm not Father O'Hagan. And he goes, I don't know who I am. He's blue eyes and the blonde hair, while his skin's very black because he's still had a pigment surgery allegedly. But he's now got an Australian accent, which is very off-putting as the film goes on later on, that he's just running about with this very blonde hair, black skin, or and very blue eyes with an Australian accent. It's great. The Platoon vibes there, they really heavily rip off Platoon for a comedy. It's great. And then it turns out it's like the film is now about making the film. That's what goes to the Oscars. It's a film about making a film. It's great. You learn that Nick Nolte isn't the war hero. Nick Nolte was actually a Coast Guard, but Nick Nolte was a sanitation in the Coast Guard. He wasn't a Vietnam vet and he still got his hands. So the film they were making was bogus. It wasn't a true story. Peter, if you've seen it, if you want to come in here, because I'll ramble, because this film is such a great film.
This is another one, like I've seen, I've never sat down and watched it is the thing. It's but I know the film, you know what I mean? It's just from all these little bits, I need to watch this. Maybe even tonight I'll sit down and watch it, because it's like one of these things where I probably don't know half the film, but I know it's a classic kind of thing. But if I can just come in on the whole controversy, I suppose we're saying, for me, a lot of cancel culture today kind of it misses context, as you're saying. It misses intention. I feel like we're fast approaching a world where you can't put Hitler as a character in a World War II film, and the important thing is, what was the intention of putting something somewhere? Like we've talked about Tarantino's use of the N word. Some people want to cancel him for that, like Spike Lee, but you have to think and some people act oh, that's so flippant the way he's using it, but he's doing that for a reason, to tell you about characters, always. And that's kind of how I look at Tropic Thunder. That's saying stuff about those characters and the Hollywood studio system, really. So yeah, it's we have a long way to go, basically. As I say, we really want to watch the full film just from start to finish now. So yeah, I feel like that's a great choice to end this on, Robert. That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, it's the film that they're now talking about making an Oscar for comedies, because I think Downey Jr. was nominated for it, but I don't know if it was the same year that Heath Ledger was nominated for the Joker.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But so there's still a lot of iffiness about that, because Heath Ledger sadly passed away, which I think is a bit unfair, because I think Heath Ledger was fantastic. He was. I honestly couldn't pick my Oscar between those two. But I like the idea that film may have now opened up an avenue for comedy to have its own kind of Oscar.
That's another lesson that needs to be learned. The Oscars, they keep trying to come up with all these, that talk a year or so ago about the new Oscar for popular film category they were going to bring in, which that's the Oscars trying to make progress without understanding anything that they've done wrong. It's not the categories, it's not any of the mechanics that have got it wrong. It's your thinking about what a film is that's wrong. We all know at this point, there will be 6 bland dramas that come out in December, plus 2 earlier films that are more creative, and those will be your 8 Best Picture nominees. It's predictable at this point, and it needs to just adapt, really, to look at what good films are now, what good films are again, and just get more into that again. Yeah.
I can guarantee that one of those 8 films will be a Tom Hanks film as well. I feel like he always appears at that around that time. Not got an issue with Tom Hanks, just
Yeah, that's the thing. Tom Hanks is great. Like, he's really pretty much great in everything, but at the same time, it's the same thing with Meryl Streep. Like,
oh yeah,
like we accept these people are great actors. They always give great performances, but you're nominating them for the sake of nominating them, and you're not you're not going to give them the award because you've given them the awards in past years. So you're basically just blocking out a spot that could go to someone else.
Yeah. But no, definitely. But I like the way Tropic Thunder, again, as I say, it's a very quotable film. There's a lot to talk about in it. It does explore controversy very well. It's just overall, it is it's probably one of the, I think, a top comedy. And for me, Ben Stiller's quite a hit and a miss for me. But this is probably why I think maybe one of Ben Stiller's best.
Yeah, Stiller's someone I always go back and forth on whether I think he has self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes you see him in interviews and you just feel like, this guy has no idea. Like he's on one plane of existence. I just remember like there were interviews for Meet the Parents on the DVD where like he like starts off explaining what the film is. You know, it's like this character Greg feels like he's so in love with this woman that maybe he might even want to take the next step and marry her. Like, I don't know, like he starts talking to like the interviewer, like, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where you've been so in love with someone that you want to marry them, and like it's like this guy has no sense of himself kind of thing. But then like he does like a performance like Dodgeball, where it's like, no, that's like that works because he is so self-aware of how ridiculous that character is, and it's just baffling that like he can pull off these brilliant, stupidly brilliant characters.
Yep.
I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, and it's one of those, even what you would argue the ensemble characters are like some of the best actors around. You know, Matthew McConaughey and Tom Cruise. I'm still shocked in it that Tom Cruise played the part, and apparently, allegedly, that it was all Tom Cruise designed that character. He wanted the fat hands, he wanted the hairy chest, he wanted to be bald, and the dance at the end was him again, that he pushed for the dance. And I just think it weirdly puts me in mind going, do I now want to see Tom Cruise do comedy? It made me think.
Yeah, Cruise is another one who, like, I used to think of him as like, that he's the generic Hollywood guy, but that guy's got some great films in his resume.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he went to Risky Business, Rain Man. Like, he's a guy who can pick great projects and can be great in them. And like, it's a credit to him and just everyone involved. Like him and McConaughey, those guys don't just do cameos in your films, but like, well, I guess, yeah, McConaughey will if it's something awesome like Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
So, but like, yeah, it's just a credit to the whole project overall, I think. Yeah, as I say, I think it's a great one to end on because, yeah, I mean, there's so many other films we could have talked about. Like, as I say, there's stuff like Young Frankenstein, which I talked about in our monster show. Yeah. Superbad, great film.
Dodgeball as well.
Dodgeball's awesome, yeah.
I mean, it's one of those ones you'll now walk away and you'll start going, there's that many. There's so many good comedies, but there is, and you can't pick them all. I suppose you have to pick the ones that you think are great. God, no. No, but I think we've had good choices. Great choices, actually.
Yeah, we got a broad selection again, I'd say. So it's always what we hope for, I'd say. So, yep. Guess that does us for another week. So, Robert, thank you for joining me.
Survive.
And to everyone watching at home, thank you for tuning in again. And we hope you have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Is actually hilarious in it as well, and I'm not too clued up in Paul Newman's career, like film for film. I just know he was a great actor. I say he was a great actor. I'm not sure if he's alive or dead. Is he? I'm saying
I'm
was.
fairly certain he's dead. Yeah.
Aye. Rest in peace, Paul. Then.
Yes.